Hello, my name is Bruce Sawalski. I'm author of Canadian Wilderness Survival and Chief Instructor of the Boreal Wilderness Institute. And today I want to add to my focus on survival gear series by talking about winter gloves. So if you like to learn real survival knowledge, please support me by following me on YouTube and liking this video. So earlier this year, I've started a series of focusing on survival gear where we talked about the sleeping systems, we talked about winter clothing, toques, parkas, and now I want to add gloves. And why I want to add gloves is gloves have a huge advantage when we're wandering around in the wilderness. And that is two-hand operation, but with 5 fingers. You also have some disadvantages. So basically, if I wear a mitt, which I've talked about already, and I'll link that video, mitt video in, you basically have the ability to keep your hands warm because all 4 fingers and your thumb are basically in the same thing, or 4 fingers together. You can wrap them together, you can warm them up. In a mitt, like a heavier winter mitt like this, I have a little dexterity, but my hand has to go back. We also have a problem with all these winter mitts. And take a look at this. This is an inside leather. So there's actual leather, it's not suede. And there, I actually have leather there on the inside. I have the insulation, which is, in this case, is a synthetic insulation inside this mitt to give me my warmth. And that's it. And it's got a little bit of a thing to tighten it up a little bit, and that's it. It's not like a set of mitts where I can pull strap that and close it in. And it's not as long. They're not gauntlets. Although you can get a set of gauntlet gloves, they're a lot harder to find gauntlet gloves than mitts. So this is the standard kind of mitt that you'd have. If I get these ones, these combi ones, they're a ski glove. They have a synthetic inside, which is not leather on the inside, and it's like a pack cloth, and a way less dexterity. You'll also notice here one of the drawbacks in all of these. They're patched. Why are they patched? Because I'm partially Scottish. I'm only 1/8, but it's my predominant gene, and I didn't want to lose these. And these were probably spark burns. But I get spark burns when I use a synthetic glove. I also get damage just from working because it'll wear through. The leather is stronger. This nylon is weaker, even if it's a pack cloth on the inside. And you'll notice that it's not the pack cloth that was going. It's the lighter nylon on the outside. The pack cloth is all successful, but it started to rep. And I looked and said, okay, if I could patch this, I'll get another season out of these mitts, right? They're just not they're not a lot of dexterity. So that's the problem. They might be a little warmer than this pair here, but they don't have the dexterity. The ones I'm prone to have is something like these, and these are actually waterproof. Leather inside, really thin, so I don't get a lot of warmth out of them. That's where I go back to, but you'll also see they've taken a bunch of damage. And you can see in here, that whole side piece is patched up. So these ones are nice enough to be patched in black, but they're patched all over the place. There's like 6 or 8 holes that I patched up to keep all the fingers intact and keep them operating. I like these mitts. Why? Because they're really small and compact. But essentially, depending on the season and conditions, I'm going back and forth between insulated gloves, mitts, and leather gloves. And that's really what I'm using in the field. Now, if I use just a standard pair of leather gloves like this, there's no warmth, right? So it's got to be a nice day. And if I'm going to use leather gloves, most of my insulated leather gloves are suede, not leather, right? That's just, it's harder to get them. You get them every so often, but that's suede. And this is suede with a little bit of cloth in here as well. So they're only partially effective and only partially waterproof because suede is the inside of the beast where leather is the outside of the beast. Leather gloves like this will always be more waterproof. Suede like this will never work as well, and you have to do something to do it. So what you'll see here is, in a pair used in the field, I coated them in an oil. So literally, I put in an oil layer, not motor oil, but like like any of the waterproofness and neat's foot oil or anything like that, and I put that in to give that a level of waterproofness. Now, this is a pair I actually used in the field, and you'll notice here, that's still suede. That's suede on the inside. They won't last as long. They'll soak up a little bit of water when we're working, and literally I have to take them off. Often when I build a camp for a course, I'll wear a pair of these, put them away, and then dry them out that night. But then I need to have 2 pairs of gloves, don't I? Right? And if it's worse and crappy enough weather, you're suddenly wearing all this weight of gloves you're taking with you. And you look at it. I might have 3 or 4 sets of gloves in winter. A set of mitts, a set of warm gloves, an insulated leather glove, or set of gloves, and probably almost always just a standard set of gloves. If it warms up, it's a little bit nicer or whatever. And that's a lot of weight to take into the field. But your hands are essential, like your head. And so if you ask what extra gear do I carry philosophically in the field, well, it's extra gloves. And even when we talk about summer, gloves. So it's important. Don't give up on something like this. This makes a big, big difference. Supplement it with a pair of mitts, which is why I did mitts first, because mitts are the essential item there to keep your hands alive. But don't forget about your gloves, and carrying a couple sets of gloves, no big deal, right? That's really what it is. Here, these are Thinsulate inside. And so Thinsulate's a little better because a little bit more dexterity to them. And these gloves, you can tell, well worn, right? Because I actually have dexterity. I like them. They're really good. These mitts these gloves tend to be what I take and use around in mid-season. So now it's beginning April. We can still get snow for 6 weeks in Alberta. I still have these, right? I'm wandering around. I'm taking these, even though on a day like this, in the middle of the day, I could get by with just these leather gloves, right? In my pack, I still have these. In winter, or much more importantly, probably a pair of mitts and a full set of mitts. So, what's the most important thing we talked about? Carry gloves, use them, understand them, buy them on the best quality material. So here you'll notice an inside leather is better than the pack cloth because they lasted longer. Something like these, thinner leather, thinner nylon, a little bit less insulation, takes more damage, right? They were damaged more, but they have more dexterity, meaning I get that dexterity to actually operate. Backed up, of course, with insulated leather gloves. And in warmer weather, standard leather gloves. Now, of course, these are actually leather. These ones were suede. So these aren't going to be as waterproof as these. And that's just the way that works. So, if you like this useful life-saving knowledge you learn on this channel, then please support me by following me on YouTube, listening and liking other videos on this channel, and following me on the Boreal Wilderness on Facebook. Thank you, stay safe, and if you're stranded in the wilderness, just remember, stop and survive.